I'm 70 years old now, and I need to tell you something truly important that most people only understand when it's already too late. I'm not here to scare you at all. I'm not here to motivate you either. I'm here because I don't have the luxury of pretending anymore at this stage in my life. When you reach my age, all those comforting lies simply stop working. You can't distract yourself anymore with endless busyness. You can't outrun the relentless passage of time. And time is truly the one thing you never get back, no matter what. Let me tell you exactly how I came to learn that hard lesson. When I was in my 40s, I genuinely believed I was being responsible. I worked hard every single day. I stayed late at the office night after night. I kept telling myself I was doing it all for my family. One night, my daughter asked me if I could come to her school play. I said, "Next time, sweetheart." But there was no next time, none at all. I didn't realize the truth of it back then, but I realize it clearly now, after all these years. Responsibility can so easily become a very convenient excuse for avoiding what matters. People often think regret comes from making truly bad decisions, but that's simply not true. Regret really comes from those moments when you almost chose differently, and then you didn't follow through. You don't remember all those countless emails you sent. You don't remember all the endless meetings you attended. What you do remember is the empty chair at the event, and that painful memory only gets louder as you age. I had a close friend from my early days. We grew up together, sharing so much. We promised each other we'd take a long trip together when life finally slowed down. Fishing somewhere peaceful. No schedules. No phones interrupting us. But life never slowed down for us, not once. He died at 66 years old. It was sudden, completely unexpected. No warning whatsoever. I still think about that promised trip even today. Not because of the place we planned to go, but because of all the time we thought we still had ahead. Here's something nobody ever explains to you when you're young and full of plans. Life doesn't get simpler or easier later on. No, it actually gets faster, much faster. The days start to blur together indistinguishably. The years compress into what feels like moments. And suddenly you're asking yourself how entire decades just disappeared. Waiting for the right moment always feels safe and secure. But waiting turns out to be very expensive in the end. My mother used to call me faithfully every single Sunday. Sometimes I would answer the phone. Sometimes I didn't bother to pick up. I always thought to myself I'd call her back later. Then one Sunday, the phone simply didn't ring at all. Silence has its own haunting sound, believe me. You only truly notice it when it becomes permanent. If your parents are still alive and with you, please understand this important truth right now. You are already living in what will become your good old days. You just don't realize or know it yet. At this age of 70, success looks very different than it did when I was younger and ambitious. Nobody asked what I achieved in my career or accomplishments anymore. They ask who I loved deeply and unconditionally, who I forgave after long-held grudges, who I stayed angry at for far too long, regretting it now. The scoreboard you're chasing so relentlessly right now, all those metrics and wins, it all disappears eventually. Relationships, the real bonds with family and friends, they don't fade or vanish. Your body keeps a meticulous score of every stress and neglect, even when you try to ignore it completely. I ignored the signals from my own body for years, pushing through exhaustion relentlessly. I thought rest was a sign of weakness back then. I believed slowing down even slightly meant falling behind everyone. Now, after decades of experience, I know much better than that. Your health is not a backup plan to activate later in life. It's the essential foundation for everything else. Lose your health, and suddenly everything else you valued becomes utterly irrelevant. When I look at my grandchildren, full of energy and dreams, I see my younger self staring back, busy with endless tasks, anxious about the future, certain they have endless time stretching ahead. I want to warn them earnestly about these pitfalls, but people don't truly learn from mere warnings. They only learn deeply from the sharp pain of actual loss in their lives. I hope with all my heart they learn these hard lessons much sooner than I ever managed to. Let me ask you something personal and direct right here. If nothing at all changed in your routine, if you kept living exactly like this day after day, would you still be genuinely proud of how you've used your limited time on this earth? Not your polished image to the world, not your list of professional achievements. Your time itself, how you chose to spend those irreplaceable moments. Because time is the only currency in life that relentlessly charges interest every passing day. If I could speak to my younger self across the years, I wouldn't tell him to quit everything abruptly. I'd tell him to stop postponing his own life. Stop putting himself on hold indefinitely. Stop delaying simple joy in everyday moments. Stop delaying raw honesty with himself and those around him. Stop delaying the rest his body craves. Stop delaying love, both giving it freely and receiving it. You don't need to wait for some perfect, flawless moment to finally start living fully. All you truly need is the courage to take that first step right now. I don't know how many years I realistically have left in this uncertain life. That very uncertainty used to scare me profoundly in the past. Now it clarifies and sharpens everything for me. Life becomes profoundly precious when you finally stop assuming it's unlimited and forever. So don't wait any longer for anything. Not for permission from others. Not for that vague someday. Someday is never promised or guaranteed to anyone. Today, this very moment, is all you actually have in your possession. What you choose to do with it today is entirely your own responsibility, no one else's.